Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, I'm very well. Very well. I love doing these lives in the Facebook group. For you guys that are listening, every Friday, Doug and I go live in the Facebook group where we actually dive into the topic and then host a Q&A. So I'm looking forward to this one. So as you know, the title of this one, Doug, one of the fastest ways to win the respect of your wife. What do you think this might be before I actually share with you what I've got to share?
Yeah, well, I think the fastest way to win the respect of your wife is you have to have your own respect for yourself. And how do you do that? Well, the ways that you win respect for yourself is...
Don't you give everything away. I'm not sharing anything.
You just asked me what the answer was, and I already know what it is. But go ahead,
Okay.
Tim. I'll let you feel the spotlight. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So here's something that came up with the new activation method group that I don't think you know. So one of the guys posted a picture in workplace last week, and he'd basically been having a really great week with reconnecting with his wife. He'd been doing his Alpha Rise and Shine, taking care of himself, doing his morning routine, and he was then at a family barbecue at the weekend. And what happened was he'd come back from a run, went to the barbecue, all the food was ready and prepared and so on. And his wife had asked him whether he would help her clean up afterwards. And he said yes, but he committed to this before he went for the run and before the barbecue. So when she then asked him to do it, he then said, well, I'm a bit full right now. Let's just do it later. At which point she just said, just leave it. I'll just do it myself. And he didn't understand what the issue was, because at that point she stormed off. She started calling him names. He felt quite emasculated by this, which is understandable because she started to say some quite nasty things to him. But clearly, it was just a symbol of a deeper disconnection between those guys at that moment and maybe even before that. So point being is, what went on here was he said one thing and did another. Now, the importance of this is the fact that if you are constantly breaking promises, be it to yourself, to your wife, to your staff, to your kids, then the people around you see that, right? And if you then don't keep a promise to yourself, let's say that you say you're going to wake up in the morning and go work out, and you tell your wife, this is what you're going to do, and you're going to start this new health regime, and you don't do it or you don't follow it, and she sees that you're not keeping a promise to yourself, which by default is like, well, if he's not going to keep promises to himself, how can I trust him to keep promises to me? And what some guys find is, as they continue to do this and they're in this cycle, the wife kind of loses interest. The guy comes home and he has this great idea, this great master plan, is excited about it, turns to his wife to go and share it, and she just kind of rolls her eyes. And there's few things more deflating to a guy than the woman he loves looking at him with that disbelief, right? When he's about to conquer a mountain. And she's like, yeah, okay, I've heard this before. Eyes roll, lose interest, she doesn't share in the excitement, right? It's kind of emasculating. But the reason for that is because, if you're in that cycle, you've then created it yourself, right? Because one of the fastest ways for you to win the respect of your wife and also the respect of yourself, for yourself, is to actually keep the promises that you make, regardless of how big or how small they are. When you start to become a man of your word, regardless of big or small, and she sees that, but you're not doing this for her, by the way, you're doing this for you. Not only does this strengthen and flex a muscle within you, that muscle of integrity and authenticity, knowing that you are a man of your word, knowing that you do what you say you're going to do. Not only does that breed a certain level of confidence and conviction within who you are, because you're walking your talk, that carries over into the relationship as well. She not only feels that confidence from you, but she also sees that you are walking your talk, and she's going to test it, right? She's going to pull you away from it. She's going to want to test your level of commitment to your word effectively. Doug, you keep chuckling. Either you're multitasking and looking at another screen, or you're finding something I'm saying funny. So I'm going to let you jump in.
There's a lot of things. I'll share them with you off air. And so I think something that's really important here, guys, is when you're looking at, winning back the respect of your wife, we have a pre-frame here, which is basically that the presupposition is that you've lost respect, right? Your wife has lost respect for you. And the easiest way, in my opinion, Tim, to get that back is it starts with yourself. And I was going to start talking about that, but I know I got the sense that you wanted to to kick off this point. But it starts with honoring your micro commitments, right? How many times have you told your wife, yeah, I'm going to start that diet, or I'm going to stop drinking, or I'm going to start running tomorrow, only not to do it, right? And she just stops believing you. I'm going to come home early from work. I'm going to stop looking at my phone, and all of these things that we've said we're going to do. These things we say we're going to do for ourselves in particular. Because what happens is if we keep on saying we're going to do something and we don't do it, what we're effectively telling the people around us is don't trust me, because I'm not going to honor my word to myself. And if I don't honor my word to myself, Tim, then how can anybody expect me to honor my word to them?
Mm-hmm.
That's really powerful. And I know a lot of guys watching this or listening to this are going to be thinking, well, that's different, right? I always honor my word. Integrity is number one. Honesty is number one for me. It's in my mission statement. It's something that's very important. My word is my bond. All these things that we say, I'm extremely trustworthy. But are you truly honoring your word to yourself? And that's where it really starts, guys. The things that you're telling people around you that you're going to do. I'm going to change. I'm going to stop arguing. I'm going to stop drinking, as we've said before. It's just a common one that comes back that we hear men promise to others around them, and they fail to complete that promise, right? Or maybe you're going to go running in the mornings every morning, and you put your running shoes out and you just sleep in. I'm a little tired today. And guys, we all do it, but it's how often do you do it? And so I believe the quickest path to gaining back that respect is having self-respect for yourself, right? Obviously, self-respect for yourself, but respecting yourself and honoring your own word. If you say you're going to do something, just do it. No excuses. Just do it. If you're going to run in the morning and you only got 4 hours of sleep, guess what? Wake up and friggin' go running, right? It's time. If you say you're going to, turn your phone off at 6 p.m., friggin' turn your phone off, right? The idea of not doing this is childlike. My son is only 3 years old, so he's not at this stage, but if he doesn't do stuff, you just don't honor it. I don't expect him to go clean up his toys if he says he's going to do it. He's 3. But are you acting like a 3-year-old, guys? Again, we all go through it, but how often are you acting like the teenager who forgets to feed the dog or forgets to mow the lawn? Maybe you've just carried this in. And, I'm sorry for being harsh. I'm doing this as a wake-up call because there's several of you that are out there that have lost the respect of your loved ones. Not only your wife, but probably your kids and other people around you because you're not honoring your commitments. So step 1, Tim, in my opinion, is honoring those micro commitments to yourself. And you don't have to be braggadocious about it. People will see. Actions speak louder than words. People will notice around you. But more importantly, it's going to come out from you energetically. People will pick up on that presence and that power.
So true. And I think one of the biggest pitfalls that that men make that contributes to them not being able to or not sticking to the commitments they make to themselves is a lot of guys that I speak with anyway are yes men. Right? It doesn't mean they're bad guys, but they say yes to things that are really a no, and no to things that are really a yes. And by default, they take on so much, far too much, quite honestly, to be able to actually keep the commitment because it's just too much, right? Things are going to fall through the cracks. So I think in keeping the commitments to yourself, those micro commitments, start small, first and foremost, and also start saying no a lot more. Be very mindful about what you put onto your plate, because some guys say yes out of pride. Hey, I can do that, right? Wanting to play the hero, which, cool. I get it. I've been there. But at the same time, in saying yes and taking everything on and wanting to play the hero, the actual fact has a reverse impact because, like I said, you can't keep up with everything. And then, you leave a trail behind of what you haven't done. And for you, what that then does in terms of your self-esteem, it lowers it because you know that you are not being true to your word. So you are not in integrity with yourself, which then does what? Starts to have this cycle of shame, which then does what? Which for some guys means leads to them then drinking or going on the phone more or working longer because it's in the office where they get more recognition and more respect and more admiration. So it's easier to hang out there, which just continues to perpetuate the cycle. So again, like you were saying, self-respect is the way you're going to get respect from your wife. And in this particular conversation, I think it's really important to emphasize being very careful about the promises you are making. As a man, your word must be something that you live and die by. As a man, to be a man who can be trusted, admired, respected, desired, you get to harness and cultivate a level of commitment to your word, which by default means that you'll be very careful about what you say yes to and also say no a lot more. It's kind of like you hire somebody, right, who says they're an A player. And then you bring them onto the team and they just underdeliver, right? They have the best intentions and they start off strong, but they just don't bring the projects to completion for whatever reason. What are you going to do? You're going to keep believing that that person's an A player despite every time that you speak to them about it, they really emphasize that they are an A player. They don't back down. I'm an A player. I believe it. I believe it. I know I am. I know I can be. But you're just seeing something different. There's a mismatch. What's going to happen? You're going to start to lose belief in them, right? Everything they then tell you is going to start to just feel a little bit empty and a little bit false. And sooner or later, you're just going to bypass that person and start thinking, you know what, I'll just do it myself. Because you can't be bothered with the story that comes with the excuse that person wants to give you. Same can be true of you. If you find yourself losing the respect of your wife, I'd really have you just take inventory. Where are you making promises that you are not keeping? Whether it's to yourself, whether it's to your wife, whether it's to your kids, whether it's to your staff. I don't want to know everything that you are doing. That's great. I want to know more about what you are not doing. Where are those promises that you are making that you are not keeping?
I think this is a great exercise. As we talk about this, I'm starting to think about things that I've let go, promises to myself, like ice baths. I mean, I even have a friggin' gigantic freezer that I bought filled with water so I could go jump in an ice bath right now. But I haven't done it in a while. And other items, or what are things in the past? What I would do, Tim, is I would tell my wife, yeah, I'll take care of the trash, or I'll take care of the dishes. Don't worry about it. Dishes is a big one. It's been a big point of contention in my relationship. Yeah, I'll wash the dishes later, because she cooks. She does all the cooking. I do all the grilling in our house. So she does all the cooking. I'll go, yeah, babe, I'll take care of the dishes. I'll get it later, right? Later tonight, tomorrow morning, or what have you. When I get busy with work, I get caught up and the dishes just aren't even in my sphere of thought, right? And this was a big point of contention in our relationship and caused a lot of strife and arguments between my wife and I, which caused a lot of butting of heads, which then caused distance between us. And I know this is going to surprise you, Tim, and probably Franco, who I know is watching us on the live right now. But I can be pretty determined and strong-willed at times. And so when I see something the way I want it, I don't let go very easily. And so this caused a lot of problems in our relationship. And really what it was me not honoring. The real reason is I wasn't honoring my word to her. So therefore she couldn't trust me to do what I was going to say. And then she felt disrespected, which I thought was interesting because I wouldn't have considered that. Like, why do you feel disrespected? And the reason she felt disrespected is because I honored my word to so many other people and so many other areas in business and health and all these other things I was doing. But when I didn't honor my word, even if it's just doing the friggin' dishes, right? No big deal. But doing the dishes, loading them in the dishwasher or whatever, she took that to be internally, Doug does not respect me. Doug does not, look up to me, or Doug does not, I don't count as much as these other areas. And that extrapolated in her mind. The story grew and it created distance between us. Now we've worked through those things, and I honor when I say I'm going to do the dishes. Most of the time, I get them done. But I think that's an important example of how this can catastrophize itself and grow into something that starts off as so small and turns into something bigger, right? And over time, my wife had started to lose respect for me because she didn't think I was respecting her.
Mm. Yeah, it reminds me of one of the guys that came into the activation method. You met him, an Alpha Reset. And he said to me, Tim, I just don't get it because my wife says that I don't have any time, but I'm always doing things with my daughter. And I was like, well, wow, I know you think you're doing a great thing there by being a great father, but that's exactly what your wife is on about, because you're making time for your daughter. But when it comes to dating your wife and switching off from work and making time for your wife, it doesn't get done, which by default shows her that she's not a priority. But he would tell her that he'd finish work early. He'd tell her he was going to do things. And the reality is, guys, if you're breaking promises with your wife in your marriage, I am very confident that will be showing up in other areas of your life. You'll be breaking promises in business. Regardless of how well you're performing in business, there will be things that will be falling through the cracks. They just will. There'll be promises that you'll be breaking in your health. There'll be promises you'll be breaking to yourself. I'm going to go fishing this weekend. Oh, no, I'll just leave it. I can't be bothered. I'm going to work out. No, I'll just start on Monday. There'll be promises that you are making that you will be breaking. And like I said a moment ago, the thing that I think is important to emphasize here is not only the impact does this have on your marriage, but the impact it has on your self-esteem as well. When you are out of integrity with yourself, it creates this vacuum, this void of shame, quite frankly, which you can imagine if you then try and walk through the door in an evening and connect with your wife, and she then pushes you away or turns away because she's been seeing the broken promises, she feels disrespected. But if you're feeling your self-esteem isn't great, you're going to take that personally as well. That's going to hurt even more, which is you're then going to pull away. She's going to pull away. It fuels the cycle. It's really important. I'd really encourage you to, it's such a tiny thing, but it's one of those things that when you look at it, it actually bleeds. It can bleed anyway through many areas, all the territories. So I'd really invite you to look at this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the first thing to do here, guys, and I'm actually going to do this as well as we talk about it. And I haven't done this in a long time, but the first thing to do is sit down and write. What I would do is list out, I would say me or Doug, and then I would say my wife, which is Erin. And I would list all the promises that I've made recently, maybe in the last 6 months, and ones that I haven't kept or intermittently kept even, right? Because I think that's really important. Ones you haven't kept for yourself that you've declared, right, out there into the world or told your wife, and ones you have told her that you haven't kept. Maybe it's date nights. Maybe it's something as silly as I was talking to a guy, this is a while ago, but he was talking about, we were going over in the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is our elite group of men, for those that aren't aware. And so we get into some pretty personal topics. And the topic was the fact that he couldn't last long in bed. And his wife's complaint was, he would come and she wouldn't. So she wouldn't get the chance to go to orgasm. He would, and he was kind of like, I'll get you next time. Right. And next time didn't happen. And so he wondered why, and he got it after a while. We got a lot of guys that can specialize this, which is kind of funny, that jumped in. But the point being is this was another thing that he had promised that he just didn't deliver, right? Because next time didn't happen. Next time, same thing happened. And so his wife was left feeling more alone. But make those promises, write them down. What are the promises you've made? Have you made promises in the area of, look at the 5 territories. The 5 territories, guys, is a really easy way to simplify this. So look and compartmentalize. What about your health? What about your wealth? What about yourself? What about your business? What about your relationships? What areas have you broken promises in there? And I always look at what I'm going to do is look at patterns, Tim. Is there something
Mm-hmm.
that's a repeating pattern that I keep saying that's going to change but doesn't? I'm going to stop working. I'm going to stop turning off my phone, or I'm going to take the kids in the morning, or whatever it is for you guys. What are those? Is it a pattern? If it is, start taking massive action. Tim, you may disagree with me. I don't think you need to go do a clearing conversation around it right now. I think more than that, you want to take action and show that, your actions step in front of your words, right? And your actions are really important, that people can see it, because they're not going to, there's no reason for them to believe you at this point.
No.
And this is your time to get it and gain back that respect. So post list. In fact, I'd recommend the guys that we got a lot of guys here watching it in the live right now. Post in the comments. What are some of the things that you guys are seeing? And, what are some of the promises that you've broken? And guys listening to this, come back to the Facebook group and add yours. All right. This is a community of men. If you're listening to this or you're watching this, this is your community. You're here for a reason, guys. And there's a lot of like-minded men that are in here just like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. You raise a great point. This isn't the time for talking. That's actually going to do you way more detriment than good. It's a time for you to take inventory and take action. And maybe that first bit of action you take is to start saying no to a lot of things you were saying yes to, because you just can't fit it all on your plate. Then from there, you're going to be able to start prioritizing certain promises that you were making. And I'd start by keeping those promises to yourself as well, with working out, with self, so that, like we spoke about, you can flip that triangle, be living from the inside out, and have the territories in the right order. And then from there, it's going to make everything else easier as well. Doug, anything else you want to share on this before we dive into the community and do the Q&A with these guys? I think we've covered some great topics there with it.
Yeah. First thing is, guys, all of us break promises. I don't care who you are, you break promises to yourself, most likely, probably more than any. So don't take this as, a criticism of you as a man and who you are. Just, take action. Be a man of action. The second thing that I always say is, do the work, guys. Take the action right now and make that list. Guys that are watching this, I'm seeing comments. Put some comments here into the Facebook group, and guys are listening to this, jump over to the Facebook group and add to that conversation, right? Be ballsy enough to step up and raise your hand and go, yeah, this is an area that I'm lying about, right? Maybe it's not lying, but I'm not following through. And it could be something as simple as, like I did, was just doing the dishes or not doing the dishes in my case. Or it could be something, as telling your wife you're going to, she's going to orgasm, and you say, I'll get you next time, and you don't, as the other gentleman did. It's up to you. But the point is, you got to step up, right? And with clarity comes the ability to make some changes. So easy to listen, easy to watch, more difficult to do. And that's why very few actually step up to the plate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. So guys, in the podcast, we're going to dive into the Facebook community now. Answer any questions there. So, Doug, thank you for sharing on this one. It's been very useful.
Tim, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, have an amazing day listening to this podcast. We'll see you soon, and we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.